So happy to have you. For any of you who may not know, my name is Michelle. I'm an autism mom and life coach for parents of children with autism. I run a group coaching program called the Champions for Our Children Masterclass. It is a 90-day group coaching program where I help you with everything to do with autism. And waitlists have been one of them. And I'm not sure why I didn't think of it up until now, but we're going to talk about waitlists tonight because waitlists are one of the biggest things that I solve for in the masterclass. So we're so happy to have you. How this idea came about wasn't my own. It was another coach in the industry. And she said, you know, I'm having families reach out to me that say that they've been on wait lists for months and they've also either had ABA services and lost it and haven't found a new person to fulfill the hours. So we're going to talk all about scenarios like that tonight. So I'm so happy to have everybody. So if you're struggling with either of these, just put them in the chat. Just some quick housekeeping rules here. We are going to be doing some prizes tonight. We're going to give away a free private session with myself. And anyone who comes tonight, anyone who registered is going to get a free copy of my new How to Get Off the Waitlist guide. And this has been a problem that I know of. I've known about it since I started my program, but I never really thought to do a training on it until this lady had come up and said, you know, I'm seeing this a lot. Are you seeing this a lot? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm seeing it all the time. I never thought to do a training on it. So here I am doing a training on how to get off the wait list. So if you come tonight, I haven't finished the guide, but it should be finished in the next week or so. As soon as it's done, anyone who registered tonight will have access to that guide for free. In addition to that, if you stay till Q&A, we will raffle off a private session with me. And I think that's fun and exciting because I love to talk to you guys. All right, perfect. So other than that, if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. If you want to be coached tonight, because I love coaching, I'm going to do the training. I can coach you on anything autism. So if you want to get coached on, PIE training, communication, you want to get coached on getting off a wait list, you're going to say, you know, Michelle, I watched your training, but I got the unicorn situation. You're going to raise your hand and I'm going to be happy to coach anyone who is willing to be coached tonight. Okay. All right, perfect. So let's just get cracking right into this. I think I didn't forget anything. Jen is here. She's here for any tech support, any questions you have, you can post it in the chat. I am running it alone, so I will do my best to answer the chat while my video is running. You can use the Q&A, but if you do want to get coached tonight, you just want to raise your little, the raise hand button. All righty, so without ado, let me get my screen up here. My little handy dandy presentation. All righty, can you see it, Jen?
Yes.
All righty, here we go. We're going to get off the wait list tonight. Woo-woo! Okay, so for anyone this is the first time you're hearing about me, it's the first time to come to any of my workshops, you're in for a treat because I love doing them. And I always like to start off by sharing our story because I think this video does it a better job than I could explain it myself. So here you go. I remember when I got pregnant with my daughter, I felt so grateful, so blessed. I mean, my life up until that point had been pretty rocky. I'd had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, and I finally thought that I was turning a corner and God was blessing me with this beautiful gift of a child. And I just, yes, you know, finally something was going my way. And then when she was born, she was just absolutely perfect. I had all of these dreams and expectations for her. I thought of all the things that I thought she was going to do. Yeah, good girl. Right after her first birthday, I started to notice her behavior change. She went from, saying Matt. She was obsessed with Dora the Explorer, Mama, Dada. She was saying it all. Good girl, say Matt. Hit all of her milestones up until that point. She walked at 1. She was eating solid. She just, she looked really good. And then I just remember her, it felt almost overnight or very quickly where her demeanor just changed. She went from this super happy baby to crying and tantruming, just frustrated all the time. I remember saying to my mom one day during one of these tantrums, like, where did my happy baby go? But I didn't think anything past it. I think I was kind of not ready to fathom that something could be off, even though maybe the telltale signs were there.
dressed. You gotta get dressed, honey. Come on, time to get dressed. She started to lose the words that she had gained. She wasn't saying mama anymore. She wasn't saying that. She just seemed really disconnected from us. Instead of playing with her toys, she would take them, dump them all out of her toy box, and just start twisting them around her hands aimlessly with no intended purpose. Really kind of in denial about it. And then I remember one day we were in the middle of the store, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, she just like started like screaming and yelling like somebody had slapped her. I don't even know what the problem was. And I was so mortified. I didn't even know what to do. I was so scared. I literally just left the half full cart in the store, picked her up, and just ran out of there. Never went to that store again. I just didn't even know what to think. And that was probably the first time it really kind of stung for me that maybe something is wrong. They diagnosed her. They didn't diagnose her right away. They said that she was too young for a diagnosis. I didn't even know what they meant when they said that. I was like, diagnosed with what? I just had no idea what they were talking about. And then they said, we'll come back in if you're not seeing progress. And I said, okay, And a couple of months later, I'm watching these speech therapists play with her on the floor. I'm not seeing any progress. It felt like she was getting a little worse. And then we went for our 2-year-old wellness visit. And the doctor said that she was behind if she wasn't using 20 words with intent. And that was probably just the knife to my heart at that point. I really couldn't deny that something was up with her anymore. So then I called the county back in, and she was diagnosed on the spectrum. And I remember that day, and it was worst days of my life. It was my darkest hour. I could easily say that as a mother, as a woman, as just a human being, is probably one of the hardest times I had ever gone through. And I remember just being I went from being so happy with God, so thankful, to being so pissed at doing this to her and wrecking this beautiful gift He had given me. And for a while there, I struggled. I struggled to figure out what this meant, or what we were going to do, or how this was going to define her. All those dreams I had for her future were just completely shattered, and I had no idea what was going to happen next. And I went from just hopeful to just complete blank when I thought about the future. One night I was thinking, I'm going to die one day, and who's going to care for her when I'm older? And something about that thought just snapped me out of my depression and my anger and my fear and said, listen, we got to get to work here. I promised that when she was born, I was going to be the best mother I could be to her. And that promise hasn't changed. In fact, she needs me more now than ever, not less. She needs me now more than ever. And I didn't know at the time what we were capable of, or what having those changes, that mindset shift for me was going to do. But I wanted to know that at the end of every night, I could look myself in the mirror with confidence and say, did you do everything you could, Michelle, to give her the best possible life? And if the answer was yes, then that was a good day. And I wanted the answer to be yes, 100%. And no matter where the cards fell, I know I could leave this earth saying I gave her everything I had, no regrets. And as I've navigated this world with her and walked away that day after having that thought, I really just grabbed the bull by the horns. I became her fiercest advocate. I'm not a special education master's degree teacher. I never had any formal training in ABA, but I knew that I was going to learn whatever I needed to learn to be really strong for her. And Juliana lost all of her language. You want Cheerios? You want Cheerios? You don't want Cheerios. Okay. She was nonverbal when she was diagnosed. Show me what you want. Okay. You want some? We taught her sign language. Show me. Juliana, show me. Good girl. Then she went from sign language to word approximations. Then she started to speak.
Say, I did it.
She went from the most restricted preschool environment. She was in a 614, most restricted preschool, special education preschool environment.
Your name is. Good morning. Your name is. And how to you?
To now where she is almost 8 years old. She's in the second grade class in a gen ed school, integrated class with typical peers. She speaks beautifully now.
What did you like about the troll experience?
I like when they make like coffee, and I like that they know like cake.
She has a personality. She has conversation skills. There's still things that we need to work on, but for the most part, her future went from black to now having possibilities. And none of that could have happened had I not kind of gotten out of my own way and really hit the ground running and started to take action for her. And I can't say that I can do that for every parent I coach, but what I can tell them is I will have them feeling like I did, looking myself in the mirror, you looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I was everything I could be for her today. I have no regrets. And whatever happens, it happens. It's really for us as parents to know we fulfilled the duty that we promised when we had these children, which was to be the best versions of ourselves, to live, to raise these children. I've helped now hundreds of mothers, coach them one-on-one to do the same things I did, to help them to be strong, to help them to create plans where we're seeing constant progress. This is what I want to do. I want to give you the chance that Juliana's had. I want to give you every opportunity to give your child that happiness.
Dear Juliana, today you will a day full of happiness. Spent with friends. Many good memories to you today and great times. I hope you remember. Happy birthday, love, Jane.
All righty. Let's get into this. All right. Who's ready for some parent weightless mindset? This is going to blow your minds. It blew my mind creating it because I had to I always whenever I think about things that I've done that are out of the norm, I have to reverse engineer how I got there. Like, how was I able to create this outcome? Even when we could talk about potty training Juliana with a sign, we could talk about teaching her to use sign language and then start speaking. We could talk about all the children I've helped in the master class. Like, I could always reverse engineer and figure out exactly how we got there. I want to teach you how you can figure this out for yourself so you guys can become me. I don't want to save your baby. I want to help you to get the skills to save your baby. And this is just such a great training because it just encompasses everything. Because if there's any thought that we have out there, in particular with something like this, where we feel like it's completely outside of our control and there's nothing we can do about it, and being on a wait list is one of those things, I'm going to show you how wrong that is. So let's get cracking right into this. All right. So this is my daughter, Juliana. And when she was born, I remember holding her in the hospital, like just thinking all the things, like what prom was going to be like. Maybe she could be a valedictorian. Maybe she could be the president of the student body. And when she got diagnosed, all of that went away. Like every thought, every idea I had, every dream just got snuffed out in that day on the couch when he looked up at me and said, he was on the floor with her and said that she was on the spectrum. Everything just went black. And it was my darkest hour as a parent. It was one of the hardest things I've had to go through my entire life. I thought in that moment that her life was over, and I thought mine was too. And I was mentally and emotionally in the worst space of my life when that happened. I spent the next few months in total grief, grieving the typical childhood I thought we'd experience. Then one night, just like I had said in the video, I had that thought, I'm going to die one day. Who's going to care for her like her mother when I'm gone? Who's going to care for her? And something about that thought snapped me out of my grief, and I kind of just jumped into action. And at that point, I still had no clue what was going to happen. And just like I said in that video, I didn't even know what was possible. I just knew that I didn't want to die one day knowing I didn't show up while I was here, giving her what she needed to survive and thrive. And if I knew in that moment that if I had white flagged it, if I could continue to just put my head in the couch cushion like just dying inside about this. If I continued on that path and completely checked out, my daughter's life and her future was finished. But whether it was this thought or something else, I knew heart of hearts I wouldn't stay here. Like it wasn't in my nature to stay here, but my nature isn't like something I was born with. It was something that was created. And I'm going to explain that more tonight so you guys can understand how I became such a wacko, how to become such a big mouth asshole. Okay. So I think this is hysterical, but I think it's so pertinent. How many people here have seen The Matrix? You can put it you put it in the chat if you've seen The Matrix. It's an old movie. God, it's got to be close to 20 years now. And if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's a fabulous movie, but there was a concept in there that I was always loved and obsessed with. And this is before I had a child. I was already connected to this idea. And there was a boy in the movie that was bending a spoon. And it looked like he was just bending it with his mind, like he was just telling his mind to bend, like spoon bend, and that's what was happening. And he was talking to Keanu Reeves in the movie, in the clip, and he says, "Don't try to bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth." And he's like, "Well, what's the truth?" And he said that there is no spoon. And I remember like so fascinated with this whole scene. And then he said, then you'll see that it's not the spoon that bends, it's only yourself. So how does this relate to what I'm trying to teach you guys today? That whole scene where he says there is no spoon, it symbolizes the idea that certain problems or obstacles in our lives only exist if one believes in them. Therefore, it's possible to overcome it by denying its existence. So let me explain. Now, I'm not saying that autism doesn't exist. I can confirm that there was a distinct difference in Juliana as a baby who was diagnosed with autism and my son Cody, who's neurotypical. The meaning of it signifies that a person cannot truly manipulate reality. A person can only manipulate themselves. What does that mean? I can change the way I think about autism. And if I can change the way I think about autism, then that's how you bend the spoon, and that's how you manipulate reality. Only when a person changes himself or herself can they change their reality. And one thing I've always found fascinating are people that create the exception to the rule. This was something I've always been obsessed with. And I'll tell you, I want to give you an origin story to this, because some people just get fascinated with certain things. There was an origin to why I am so obsessed with hearing about miracles, why I'm so obsessed with hearing about exceptions to the rules. And when I was a child, I was from kindergarten to middle school, I was tortured in school. School was a nightmare for me. I was bullied. I was very overweight as a child. I was painfully shy. I was on the younger age side. So when I started kindergarten, I was 4 instead of like 5 going on 6. I was 4 going on 5. So it was just a hurricane of a scenario that led me to be this bullied, tormented child all the way to 8th grade. And I remember throughout this whole experience of going through this nightmare childhood, of going to school every day, coming home crying every night, I would like be thinking in my head, or even like, I guess thinking to God, like, why isn't somebody coming to save me? Why are people allowing this to happen to me day after day? And I would fantasize about this idea that somebody was going to come in, swoop me out of my misery and take me away and take me out of my pain. I thought about this a lot, and I thought about it for years. Then one day, it was 8th grade. I'll never forget it. It was in science class. It was chemistry. I believe it was chemistry. I'm not sure. And it was, I was sitting next to one of my arch nemesis bullies. Of course, he had assigned seating right next to me in the front row. And the teacher wanted us to join hands to show how like neurons fire together or wire together. I don't even remember what it was about. And I knew as soon as we had to hold hands, he was going to do something stupid. And I was praying he wouldn't. But of course, you know, he's total fucking asshole like he normally is. And he started making pig noises as we joined hands. And something happened in that moment, and I fucking snapped. I don't know what it was. Even to this day, when I think about this, I'm like, I can't believe I did this. So while we were holding hands, I started digging my nails into his hands. And then his laughter started to turn to like, he started to get really uncomfortable. Then as soon as he started screaming a little bit, I pushed him in more. And next thing you know, he jumped out of his seat. He ripped my hand from his, started crying, and he ran out of the room. And he never fucked with me again. And there was something in that moment that changed for me. Something in that moment said to me, no one is coming. For the years and years and years, I fantasized and hoped somebody was going to swoop in and save me. In that moment, I knew I can't do this anymore. There's only so much a human can take. And I believe this for anything. And it's either it goes one way or it goes the other way. And for me, it was fight. And I remember thinking like, fuck this. I'm done with this shit. I don't want to live this life anymore. No one is coming. I have to be my hero. And I think because of all those years of being tortured and visualizing like the superhero person coming in to swoop me out of here, that connected me to the idea of like loving on miracles and loving on being like obsessed with the idea of exceptions to the rules. And then I thought about, what if I could be the exception to the rule, right? And if I could be the exception to the rule, and I could think that about myself, I most certainly would think that about my child, even my nonverbal diaper-wearing child with autism. And even though I was shocked and destroyed and sad by the diagnosis, I was scared. I thought, autism might be like how you thought of it. I think I thought of it like Rain Man. I thought of it as this debilitating disability. And even with that fear, at that point in my life, I was so practiced in the belief that I could create the exception to the rule for myself, that I could be the exception to the rule. And by extension, Juliana would be the exception to the rule. It was very powerful for me. And I know you got to figure from 8th grade to 35, I've been practicing this in all of my life. And these are all thoughts that's why you can't say like a personality, you're just born this way. That's bullshit. Your life creates the person that you become. And you have a choice throughout every single thing that happens to you and what that identity is going to look like. And that moment, my identity shifted. And then in context to that, this belief of like, I saved myself. I was the exception. What's an exception to me? Somebody that's exceptional, like a hero, like a superhero. And I saved me in that moment. So maybe I could put that in business. Maybe I could put that into buying a house. Maybe I could put that into getting out of debt. Maybe I could do it with healing my girl with autism. And by the time she was born and by the time the diagnosis came, even though I was slayed just like all of you, I really believed that I could create this for her. And it was all it's just so well practiced for the years that I've been thinking that way. And even to this day, I choose to believe this about myself and Juliana and Cody every day. So thinking this about myself has served me so well in all aspects of my life, hence why they're burned into my bones to this day. It's like tattooed on me now, right? I also believe it's the reason Juliana is where she is today. Now, for the first year or so, we were in our autism bubble, meaning that in the first year, after the first year she was diagnosed, we were getting services in the home. So I guess I just assumed while we were there that all parents thought the way that I thought. Like everyone had their hero journey, maybe not the same exact thing, but everyone had that belief. And if they didn't believe it about themselves, because they knew people could be depressed, they knew people could be anxious, they knew people may be down on themselves, I just believed 1,000%. If somebody had asked me that if they don't believe it about themselves, they 1,000% believe it about their kids. Because that's why we all created right? We all created these little humans because we wanted to love on them and mush them and raise them into awesome adults. And I don't think a parent who doesn't think like me doesn't have the same intention. But I think what ends up happening is that one can't exist without the other. And that's what I've learned through coaching for myself and coaching for you guys, because it's the way of seeing the world matrix style. Meaning I can't change anything for my child if I don't believe I can create change for myself. And we talk about this concept in the program called the invisible umbilical cord, meaning that if I feel like shit and I'm having shit thoughts about this, then that's going to actually directly affect the outcome I get for my kid when I want to teach them important life skills like PI training and communication. And you can't change that autism is here, but you can decide how you want to show up for yourself every minute of every day. And only when you do that can you change your reality and the reality for your baby. That's how powerful the mind is of the parent to affect the child. I can't give you the path of getting off a wait list if you've already given up on a limitless future for your baby. Now I'm going to show you the tactical. I've got great tactical. I'm going to go over examples after example of how you can solve for being on a wait list. But if you don't fix this first, nothing I give you is going to matter. You're already defeated here. You're not going to take the action like I would take it, feeling like this awesome, amazing exception to the rule individual. You've got to start feeling that way about yourself. that you're capable of making the impossible possible. And if you don't think thoughts that create the action to change you and in turn change your reality, you could end up like these parents I've encountered. And by the way, this started as soon as we left early intervention. That means Juliana was going on 3. So we went into a special education preschool, had an ABA center in it. And I went out on a weekend retreat with some of these parents. I said, let's go for a weekend. Let's go for a weekend away. And this is what they were talking about in the hot tub. Parents of preschool children talking about giving up their homes to the state to be a group home. So when they die, their child will definitely have a bedroom and a home to live in after they're gone. Parents putting teenagers that they'd rather have home with them in group homes because they didn't have a home to give to the state and they needed to get in the system and they don't want them to lose their spot for when they'll need it as an adult. Parents of young children going to estate planning or transition planning workshops. Parents talking about starting businesses for dignified employment of children who will be adults with special needs. Parents who spend tons of their time trying to change the world and make the world inclusive to the child instead of focusing on getting the child prepared for the world that stops for no one. Now, I consider myself a planner and I'm realistic too. I'm not like pie in the sky. I understand that there's a need for some of these things. I'm not disagreeing with that. And I always like to think 5 steps ahead for myself, but I take huge fucking issue with a parent who future chips their kid into a group home before the age of 5, even the age of 10 or 15 for that matter. No one, and I mean no one, can tell you where a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old will be at the age of 16, 18, 25, or 35. And how many times, if not for your child, I know I've had it for both. I've had it for actually both kids and myself and my husband. How many times as a professional, meaning a doctor or a therapist or a teacher, told us something about ourselves or our kids that was 100% wrong? Comment in the chat. Fucking happened to me constantly. How many times have they been wrong? And if you think this way, if you're already signing your house off to the state with a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, you give up on your kid before the job has begun, and you're missing out on an opportunity to meet your child where they are now, helping them learn life skills where they are now. So this is where the thoughts are. These are the knee-jerk thoughts. I call our pre-matrix thinking. So I want to know, have you had these thoughts? I've had all these thoughts too, by the way. I've tried everything. Nothing works. I don't know how to help my kid when they don't understand. Autism is a death sentence. My child has a dual diagnosis. They're not like other children. My child is older. I've been around the block. What's going to happen to my child when I die? Am I going to have to deal with this forever? So here's how the brain works. You have the power to change your child's futures and results by starting here. And I'm going to go into the tactical. That's what you all came for. And I get that. But if you don't fix this, none of the tactical will matter. And we start with the mind and the thoughts that we're thinking. Your thoughts create feelings. And these feelings are in our body and they drive the action or inaction you take for your child. And you have the power to change your results for your baby one thought at a time. By thinking intentionally and deliberately with different thoughts that leave you feeling empowered, motivated, and willing to believe an alternate outcome is possible for you and your baby, your reality will change because you show up differently for your child than you do right now. So how do we rewire our brain? So I want to go over 2 different examples here. So basically we want to talk about, we talk about in our program, in our mindset training in the program, about facts, thoughts, feelings, actions, and the results of your thoughts, right? A fact is also known as a circumstance. It's a solid, meaning that you could submit this fact into the court of law. Like everyone would agree that this is what's going on right now. So the fact that's bringing you all here to me tonight is you either are waiting for an autism diagnosis or you're waiting for ABA services, and they said there's a wait for services. I said 6 months in this example. The thoughts you might be having are there's nothing I can do. This is completely out of my control. I don't know what to do next. Or you might be immediately going to like really shitty thoughts about the life of my child is going to live that if nothing changes. When I think things like this, I feel overwhelmed. I feel stuck, defeated, helpless. When I feel that way, what kind of action do I take? Probably nothing. Or I research myself into procrastination and then I avoid doing anything, then that makes me feel even more stuck. It's like a crazy 8. And the result is the child doesn't get any services and you continue to be on this wait list. Now I want to talk about what we work on in the program, and this is changing your thoughts. You have full control over this. If you didn't know that, now you know, somebody's told you. You don't have to think shitty things anymore. You can think things that are going to move you in the right direction. We call it champion parent thinking. And what I want you to note here too is the fact for the default parent thinking and the champion parent thinking is exactly the same. It's neutral. Shit's going to happen outside of our control. They're neutral. People are going to say shit that's going to agitate us. That's neutral too. It's it's the thoughts we have about it that triggers good action or bad action. So if I called an ABA agency and they said there was a 6-month wait for services, the thought I had, and this is exactly what I did, I don't wait on wait lists, especially if it's for my baby. Okay. And the feeling, and I believe that right now, you have to understand, I don't go from nothing I can do, I don't know what to do next, to just believing I don't wait on wait lists. It's because it's in my constitution that I believe in the exceptions of the rule, that I've been doing this, been loving to create that for myself for years and years and years, that this thought is natural for me now, that I don't wait on wait lists, especially if it's for my child. And the emotion I feel about that is I'm a problem solver. I feel powerful. It feels factual in my bones. I had to work to get there. You don't start on the left and work to the right. You have to work your way to that. The action that I take is I start calling around. I network. I'm ready to drive. I get creative. And the result is my child gets off the wait list. Now I want to give you a real example, because I never had an issue with a wait list for ABA services. When Juliana was diagnosed, we were in early intervention for a year. As we were in early intervention, the law passed. I was the first person that I knew of that got ABA through insurance in my neighborhood or on Long Island or whatever the case may be. I even worked with the first agency that was accepted in network with any insurance carrier, because I was all over it when I saw that the law had come out. So I want to give you a real life example that I'm sure many of you can relate to, and that is COVID. How many here had to wait on a diagnosis because of COVID? How many here are still waiting because of COVID? How many here have never gotten services started because of COVID? Okay. Now, when COVID happened for us, Juliana was already getting services. To this day, Juliana is amazing. At this point in her autism journey, you wouldn't know she had autism if I didn't tell you now. If you met her on the street, you just think she was you just think she was a neurotypical kid. But I love ABA. I'm obsessed with behavioral therapy. I even to this day, I still say it's the needle mover for her, the primary educator for her, even past school. If I had to compare school or ABA, I could only have one. I would always take ABA, because behavior therapy, it speaks to the rawest, purest form of communication, which is our behavior, and behavior never lies. And if we speak on that level, we'll always get through to our children. And that's my experience with ABA. That's the experience my families have had in my program. So I want to give you the example, because we had ABA services. We still have it. I love it. We're right now, the reasons we have ABA now is to really fine tune the dials of social skills for Juliana. But other than that, and trying new foods. So we have it for a couple of things. But I still had it during COVID. COVID happens. So now I want to give this example. This is what I heard tons of. The fact was all services shut down during COVID. This was a fact. Everyone could turn on the TV. Everyone could watch the news and see that everything was shut down except for supermarkets and hospitals, right? The thought I had, or that I've heard parents have, I didn't have this. Nothing I can do. I don't know what to do next. Everyone's in the same boat. And then I start thinking about my child's life and feeling like shit, because if they don't get them the services, it's only going to get worse and it's going to ruin their life, right? The emotion I feel is the same as before. Overwhelmed, stuck, defeated, helpless. I'm in the same boat as everybody else. Action I take, nothing. Overloading research that makes me feel more stuck, or I'm trying to figure out if I can learn it myself and I'm already overwhelmed and have my own feelings that haven't been addressed. And the result is the child doesn't get services. This is the exact example of what I had went through when COVID happened. Okay. So I had the same circumstance that you guys had. All services were shut down. I was in New York. We were one of the first states to shut down completely. The thought I had when this happened, we kept running I said to my RBT at the time, like, do you want to still come? I don't care if you still want to come. I want you to come. Yeah, no, I want to come. Okay, great. So she kept coming. Then the agency called and said, stop, no more services. New York said we have to shut down. We have to shut down, right? So when that happened, when it happened to everybody else, I didn't think anything. I'm like, I'm just going to keep it going until they shut me down. Then when they shut me down, I was like, I wonder if I could find a workaround for this, right? Because this is just how I operate. Now I got a lot of time on my hands, right? So I'm like, I wonder if I can figure out a workaround for this. And the emotion I felt when I think that thought is I feel like a problem solver. I feel powerful. I feel factual in my bones that I could maybe I can figure something out. Maybe there's a loophole I can manipulate here, right? The action I take is I start calling around, asking questions, making suggestions. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. They call us, they say, all right, she can't do it. She's got to shut down. So I said, okay. So then I call my RBT and I said, listen, if I can get services back, do you want to come back? Yeah, I don't want to stay out of work. I'll come back. And she's like, I just work with you. You know, she right at that time, I think she was working just with us anyway, or she was working with another family and us, but she was doing like 20 hours or something with us. So she's like, I would just work with you guys and not work with the other family. I'd rather work with you guys anyway. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm like, so then I call the agency and I say, listen, agency, or actually I call the BCBA first, because BCBA, if you have ABA services in the home, you have the BCBA as the supervisor, the behavior tech is the one that you see on the day-to-day. So I call the BCBA, I said, listen, it says in my insurance that ABA is it's a medical necessity for autism. And, if they're keeping the hospitals open, obviously because it's a medical necessity to keep a hospital open, I think behavioral therapy should still fall in this category. So, maybe we could set up a conference call to talk to the director and maybe get my insurance on the phone and see if we can all be in collaboration with this. Just what she said to me, I'll never forget. Michelle, everything's shut down. I'm like, no, I understand. I know, but this is, it seems kind of important. Like, I don't feel like this should be, I don't feel like we should not have this, And she, and I said, and I'm willing to do it and take the risk. And so is the RBT. So I don't see why we can't do this. Michelle, the new director of our agency, she's a PhD. So she's telling us to shut down. I think we should just take her word for it. And then I got pissed when she said that, because I'm like, I'm a fucking PhD in my kid. All right. So now I'm like, you know what? Now I definitely want to talk to her, because I understand what you're saying and everything. And I know she's a PhD, but I think she speaks English. So I'd like to talk to her and just say, like, plead my case here. I think it's important that we have this discussion. So then she gets her on the phone with me. She says the same thing. And I said, listen, my insurance says specifically, this is a medical necessity. That's why it was passed as a law. It's ABA. My daughter needs it. Listen, she's going to regress because she's not going to school now either. So we're not going to get the social interactions. I'm definitely going to see behaviors. I'm pleading my case here that this is why it should be approved. And then I come up with the idea. I said, what if I'm willing to sign a waiver that I will not hold company ABC responsible if I get COVID or if any of us get COVID from the tech. And if the tech is willing, which I already knew this because I already asked her, if the tech is willing to sign the same thing, not making you liable, not making me liable, vice versa, nobody's going to be held liable if anyone catches COVID. Would you consider this? And she said, I'll talk to the owner of the agency, but I just don't think so, Mrs. Rogers, right? I made a joke because I was just talking to Christina, who's our RBT, about this before she left tonight. And I thought it was a week. She said she was out less than 5 days. And they called me up and said, guess what, Mrs. Rogers? Good news. I tell you, I blew my own hair back on this one because it was COVID. Good news. If you guys are willing to sign these waivers, you're not going to sue us if somebody gets COVID. She can start back immediately. Had I not even gone through the exercise, right? If I believed I didn't have any if I didn't have any way to manipulate this, if I took it for face value, like this is an external circumstance, you think being on waiting on the wait, if there's a wait list, right? That's the circumstance that we're all dealing with. But the thought that you can have, saying that, oh, okay, I'm just letting my dog out. Oh, okay, this wait list means that I can't do anything. You couldn't be more wrong. I couldn't even believe, I tell you, I blew my own hair back with this one. We were both laughing. I'm like, I still can't believe I did that. She said it was less than a week. I said, you were back in a week. No, I was back in 5 days. We lost 5 days of services during COVID. All because I was okay with hearing no or being insulted because I wasn't a PhD. She doesn't know anything. I'm a PhD mom. But anyway, This is what's possible for you. But you know, and I'm going to go through the tactical now of like examples of how you can get off wait lists. But I want you to start thinking differently. That a circumstance is neutral. Being on a wait list is neutral. It's your thoughts about it that cause the pain. It's the thoughts that you have about it that keep you stuck and nothing happening. Not that you can't make something happen. I've got example after example. I'm going to show you how. Okay. All right. So building new beliefs on purpose by challenging those old default beliefs. That's how you start to rewire your brain. You can't go from like, I don't believe that this is possible to believing like, I don't sit on wait lists. Almost like I'm like, it almost feels like I have like this air to me, but it's not even that. It's just, I feel so solid in that. Like if I really need this, I'm going to find a way. Right. So the old default beliefs that you might have, that's what I used to believe. And I'm working on unbelieving it. So if I believe that there's nothing to do if I'm on a wait list, I'm willing to not believe that anymore. For the sake of me, for the sake of my child, I'm willing to believe that that's not good thinking. And I'm not going to think that way anymore when I'm put on a wait list. I'm willing to believe something different. I could be wrong about thinking I don't have control over anything if I've been put on a wait list. I'm open to believing that I have more power than I think to get off a wait list. This is how you kind of like work your way towards like, I don't wait on wait lists. I know I sound like a half asshole, but it's just the way I feel. I'm not waiting on a wait list. And if I am, I'm not staying there long. And this is Mary. And I admit Mary was one of my first clients. Her son was 7 when we first worked together. He was nonverbal and in diapers. Within 2 weeks of working with us, he was fully potty trained. And within a month, he was saying mama for the first time. Now, I bring up Mary because Mary's a great example because she was getting ABA services set up right when we were working together. I gave her all the tactical to go, all right, this is what you got to do. You're going to call this one. You're going to set this up. You're going to tell me what you need, blah, 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 right? And I have COVID. I caught COVID. And she calls me up and she says, or she texted me and she said, I tried calling like 4 times and I just can't get through. And I can't set this up. I'm like, Mary, you have to do it by Saturday. Otherwise it's a new year, new reset or whatever. And she's like, no, I know I tried, but I can't do it. I can't get through. And I got so mad because I'm like here, like on the bed with COVID and I'm reading these texts. I'm like, give me the fucking number. And I wasn't saying this to be an asshole, right? I was saying this because I know that it was just this. At the time I didn't, right? Because she was one of my first. I had to reverse engineer my brain. At the time, she believed when she couldn't get through that there's no other option behind that. It's not just that. There's these thoughts about like, this is my life. This is what I can expect from now on. And then because I feel and think these ways, this is how I show up when I hit a roadblock. Long story short, I called the number. I kept getting disconnected like her, but it was one of these things where you call and it was another company handling the ABA services for the insurance. And they said their name before it disconnected. It was like Lighthouse Behavioral Support. So I just Googled Lighthouse Behavioral Support, found their direct number. I called them like, hey, are you doing this for Oscar, which was the insurance she was using at that time? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, your phone it's not working right. It keeps getting disconnected. And he's like, oh, okay. Now I have her on a 3-way so she could hear me getting this done with COVID. So this is why I want to really just show you guys what's possible and that you have to like work on like my belief that I have no control over this because it's not true. You always have control over what's in front of you. You can't control COVID. You can't control the autism diagnosis. You can't control that somebody said you're on a wait list, but you can control how you respond to it. And that's what I want to show you what's possible. So now let's get into the tactical. Let's rock that wait list. All right, so we have 2 different types of people that are waiting on wait lists. There's people that are waiting for diagnoses. They may be still waiting for a diagnosis for years or months. I'm going to speak to you guys first, and then I'm going to speak to people who have the diagnosis and are waiting for services. So if you are waiting for a diagnosis, you want to first understand who can give you the diagnosis. So if you suspect your child's on the spectrum, and I want to talk about that in a minute, these are the people that can give you a diagnosis. A developmental pediatrician, a neurologist, a psychologist, a child psychiatrist. If you what the first place I go, if I had a family who said, listen, I suspect my child's on the spectrum, because most of our children that work with us in the master class are on the autism spectrum, but I'll get some parents that they didn't get the diagnosis yet, but they want to start helping their baby. So we take you guys into the program too. But I always encourage them to get a diagnosis, because if you feel like something's up, then like, why even challenge it? Autism is going to give you a standard level of care that no other diagnosis will provide, especially when it comes to behavioral therapy. So the first place you're going to go, if you don't have a diagnosis, but you suspect something's up, so you're going to call your pediatrician. And you're going to tell the pediatrician, hat in hand, I believe my child has autism, because they're not going to diagnose. I actually had a couple of instances where they did, but lately from the master classes, I'm hearing that they won't do it, but they will help you to get support now. So they know about the situation out there, that there's wait lists and there's problems. And if you tell them like, listen, I think my child's on the spectrum, I need services, they're doing this, this, and this, and I need help and I need support, can you help me? Usually they can, like, you know, doctors know doctors, and they can kind of maybe like get you through to somebody, get you through to their neurologist friend or their psychologist or their, you know, pediatric psychiatrist, and get you in somewhere fast. Okay. So the first place you stop is at the pediatrician. If you go to the pediatrician, you strike out, and that strikeout means that they can't help you now, then the next stop is the back of your insurance card. You're going to call your health insurance. You're going to ask anyone that's in network that I want to know the name and phone number of anyone in a 100-mile radius that's a developmental pediatrician, a neurologist, a psychologist, a child psychiatrist. Your list should be lengthy because you want something within a 100-mile radius. And I say 100 miles because, yes, you will travel for this. If there are wait lists, and I know there are because I hear it from you guys all the time, you have to be willing to like take a bus, take a train, get on a boat, whatever it takes to go and find somebody who can get you this diagnosis as quickly as possible. The diagnosis is your ticket to services. One can't happen without the other. Another option you have is to pay out of pocket for evaluation. I knew that was an option with us too. If I wanted to I don't believe in second opinions with this. Second opinion is just going to fuck with your head. If you believe something's up with your child, have your back on what you want to do about it. Don't go starting looking for experts who spend 30 minutes or an hour with them to make you feel better. That's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your child's time. So another option is, all right, I know a neurologist that could see me next week, but it's $300. That $300, the ROI for the thousands and thousands of dollars in services and hours, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours that you're going to get, is well worth the investment. So you could pay out of pocket. Remember, the name of the game here is to move fast, and you want to get this done now. This is something brand new. This came out while COVID. There's 2 companies that I know of. One I've definitely worked with. One I can't speak to, but I just saw an ad for them. One is Cognoa. They will do online evaluations over Zoom. My first client, Mary, her neurologist met her over Zoom and gave her the diagnosis that way. So you could contact an online company that does online behavioral diagnoses for autism, and they can do it over Zoom. There's no reason for you to stay on a wait list. Now, how do I know all this? I did my research, but I also have the belief that I find a way. That could be another thought I could place in my champion model, right? I always find a way. Okay? And a word on autism evaluation appointments. You want to walk into that appointment with a good sense of the outcome that you want. You don't go in there looking for the professional to tell you how to think and feel. You don't go in there looking for reassurance. You don't go in there looking like, please tell me something I don't want to hear. You want to go in there like, I know what I need from you. Because, the reason I say this is that the testing isn't black and white. It's subjective to the practitioner. And if they sense a vibe like you're scared or you're not comfortable and you might not be down to hear about a diagnosis of autism, if the testing comes back on the line, they're inclined to give you the energy you put out. Remember, our thought work, the same applies to autism. I see the diagnosis as access to behavioral therapy, nothing else. That autism diagnosis gives me a standard level of care that no other diagnosis gives me, especially when it comes to behavioral therapy. I didn't see autism as anything as ticket to services. Okay. If you're waiting for services, so now this is like, okay, great. I already have the autism diagnosis, Michelle, but I have been on wait list after wait list. I thought it was going to start with a place, and then it fell apart. I thought I saw, And then I thought I got called, and then they told me they had somebody, and then they didn't. So if this is you, this is for you. So if you're waiting for services, ABA, if you did not know, it is covered under most private insurance plans. It's now covered in Texas and Illinois under Medicaid. I think New York, which is ironic, doesn't cover Medicaid doesn't cover ABA in New York. I think it may have changed, but Texas and Illinois have now come to the party. The first step to understand is if your child has private insurance, that could be through your employer, or it also could be through the state. So if your child didn't qualify for Medicaid, and let's say you're self-employed like me and my husband, our children under they call it Child Health First, I think it is, in New York, where every child, it's a federal law, but each state is in charge of dueling out the laws, where every child gets health insurance no matter what. So you'll be covered for ABA under most plans. When you call the back of your insurance card, you're going to say, guess what? My child's on the spectrum. I need to know, I need a list of names and phone numbers for every ABA agency within a 50-mile radius. Why do I say 50 miles? Because it doesn't matter where the agency is based. It matters if they have practitioners servicing your area. So when we started with ABA, the company I love that I'm still with, their main headquarters was in New York City. I'm on Long Island. So I wasn't expecting to have to go into the city, but they covered the tri-state area. So I knew that they'd be able to cover us, right? So that's why we say within 50 miles. First step is call back your insurance card. I need a list of ABA providers that are in network. When you get on the phone with them as well, you're going to find out about what is my deductible? What are the copays? You want to get all the details ahead of time. Is there a cap on hours, right? Next thing you're going to do is you're going to call and set up your evaluations with all of them. So if you have a list of 10, you're going to call and make appointments with all of them. And this is the example I give. I always explain this in my master class. My master classes here, they'll get a kick out of it. Is like, imagine a bunch of plates being spun in the air, right? And they're all spinning, right? And when I call all the ABA agencies, I'm keeping all these plates spinning in the air. And as I become a master plate spinner, because what I end up doing is I end up just keep making these appointments. All right, you can see me in 6 months. All right, sign me up. You can see me in 3 months. Okay, great, sign me up. You can see me in 1 month. Great, sign me up. But I don't assume that 1 month's going to come through, because sometimes shit happens and they say 1 month, but it really meant 6. And sometimes this guy says 3 and it really was 1. So I make appointments with everybody to get the evaluation. So what happens is, even though you have an autism diagnosis, all of these ABA agencies that are in network have to come out and do their own evaluations to submit to insurance with okay, we think that they need to work on all these goals and this is how many hours we need. So they all have to do their own individual assessments. You can schedule the appointments with all of them. And as it starts to get closer, you could start canceling or letting these other plates drop as you start to find your clear winners. So it usually goes from I'll maybe make appointments at 10, then it all of a sudden come down to 5 real candidates, then 3, then 2, then 1. Okay. And if you go through this, because I've had families do this too, if you go through all of this, right, and you find I'm still on wait list, this still isn't happening, you have to show insurance that you've done your due diligence, that you've called every single number on the back, that are in network. And then if that happens, you can file what's called a single case agreement. It's called an SCA. So let's say you find an out-of-network provider that can start services within a month. And they're solid, you feel good about them, you like the way and that's another reason why I always do the plate scenario, is I want to see how I'm treated while I'm waiting. Like if I'm dealing with asshole companies who don't call me back and I'm always chasing them, that's not somebody I want to be running services with. If I get a company that's always, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, you're still on the wait list, we're still considering you, they're really professional, oh, that's probably going to say a lot about who they're going to send out to my home, or what kind of center my child's going to be in. You see what I'm saying? So let's say you go through all of the different options, you call every single one of them, every single one have a crazy wait list, but then you find one that's out of network and they don't take your insurance. You can ask the insurance for an SCA, which is a single case agreement. And what that means is that as long as you've shown insurance, you've done your due diligence, and you've tried with all the other places that are in network and they can't see you, you can ask them to make a one-time exception to put this agency in contract as if they were in network. Okay. All right. So these are all the examples of what we've done, what I've helped parents do in the masterclass. Okay. All right. If you get waitlisted at every turn, or if you want to work with a specific agency, you get crafty. So here's another thing that happens. I got in with this agency. I'm all set up. We've been good to go. And then it's been like a revolving door. We can't find a therapist that'll stay. And it's just, it's constant. All of us have had this happen. I have two RBT positions right now. One has been constant since Juliana was 3. Absolutely love her. She loves us. She's about to take the test to become a BCBA. I've already crafted in my mind, because this is what I do, that she will take over as the head BCBA, and we'll have to get a tech to replace her. But she's been with Juliana since she was 3. The other tech has been a revolving door for us for the same amount of time. Christina took a lot of the hours, then she can only take some, then she had to take another case because that was the type of thing she had to do to get her to qualify for her BCBA test. So the second RBT position, we've had a harder time keeping. I wouldn't say that all of them were bad. I would just say that, it's just sometimes this is what happens. But I don't just throw out the whole idea of like, oh, I guess I'm not going to do this anymore because I can't ever get somebody steady. No, I look at what's going on. Like, why does this keep happening? And maybe, can I have an impact? Can I make something happen here so that this doesn't keep happening? One of the things I do is like, all right, if you get waitlisted after the turn, or you want to work with an agency, you want to get crafty, but if you're waiting, and let's say you're in with the agency, but you're still waiting for it to be staffed, what's the wait? Like, what's causing it? You want to ask, is it the staffing, the behavior tech, the BCBA, or both? If it's the BCBA, very rarely it's the BCBA, because right now there's supervisor hours. So basically, usually they come in and they're only coming in 20% of the hours a week just to supervise the behavior tech, make sure she's doing everything correctly, answer any questions for the families. They're not in there constantly. So in that case, if I know like the staffing issue is a BCBA, I could easily ask that they just do it virtually, because they're not working directly with the child. If it's a situation where the staffing of the tech is the issue, I have a few ideas for that. The first one is, if this immediately happens, you could always ask for direct care hours. Direct care hours means the BCBA works directly with the child. Sometimes you'll qualify for that out of the gate as a support service for the child. Most times it's going to be through a behavior tech because they're cheaper to pay, right? You have to look at this like a business too, by the way. So if you have a situation where you're in between techs, you can ask if the BCBA can do some direct care hours with the child until that placement is filled. I don't like to do that because eventually she's going to have to leave, or he's going to have to leave anyway. So what I like to say is, okay, if it's an issue with staffing the behavior tech, where was I referred to that has the wait list? Are there similar places out there that can do the same thing? Like, so basically, like, this is another example too. So before I get into this, the other example I have is, let's say we're having an issue covering the behavior tech. What if I could help them find them? And you're like, this is crazy, right? No, it's not, because this is exactly what I've done. So if they're saying they're struggling to staff, first you want to ask, what are they looking for? And I'm going to go over that in the next slide. And then say, well, is there somebody in my inner circle, somebody in my network that would probably be amazing to work with my child, like a babysitter? I can't tell you how many times we've done that in the program, where I've told the parents to go out and tell the babysitter to go contact the agency and work through the agency to work with the child. Okay. Where was I referred that there was no wait list? So this was an example that came up last week where a family was referred to an ABA center and they had a wait list and they were completely lost and they felt so upset. And this is why that mindset part is so important, because it never occurred to them in their pain that there could be just another place out there they could go to. They don't have to go to the place that was referred by the neurologist or the pediatrician. They can go to a similar place if that place doesn't pan out. But sometimes we're not even thinking straight if we're in that mental mud. That's why the mindset part of being a parent of a child with autism is so crucial. We got to get out of our own ways, because you can't even see, like, wait, I just call around. I'll ask another place, right? And then this is the other thing I was telling you. Would they be open to you helping to find the text? I've never had an agency say, no, I don't want your help, especially if they're really struggling. And another thing, like sometimes they'll say, you're going to be on a wait list because we don't have any behavior techs currently to service it. I want you to ask them right out of the gate, what if I could find my own behavior tech? Do you have a BCBA? Could we start immediately? Could I cut the line? I've seen that done in my program as well. I'm like, call them and tell them you're going to find the tech. If you find the tech, will that get you off the wait list? And they say yes, because you serviced your own case. Okay. Behavior techs can be found in our social circle. Now, what's a behavior tech? So there's the paraprofessional, also known like paraprofessionals, like just somebody who's kind of just getting on the job training. An RBT, a registered behavior technician, is certified through the BACB site. they take a 40-hour online course and they get paid more, right? So I used to always say I'd rather have a behavior tech, but I've at this current RBT we have now, she wasn't an RBT when I started. She's great. So now I don't even say that anymore. Anyone can be a behavior tech. So this could be, it could be a babysitter, a college kid. It could be the see it at school. If your child has a one-on-one at school that wants to make more money, they could be them. It could be anybody. It could be somebody with no experience too. And I found behavior techs on mommy groups, social circles, job. I posted a job opening on care.com and I found an RBT that way. ABA is not rocket science. It can be taught to you and to anyone. And I prefer a tech with no experience. I prefer somebody without their certification, without anything. Because I always see that as like, I see that as soft clay I can mold, right? You didn't come in with bad habits. You don't do ABA in a shitty way. I can teach you what I want it to look like. The credentials I look for in a candidate is chemistry that matches my child. Juliana has a lot of energy, so I gotta have a tech that can meet that energy. I need somebody who loves children, loves to play games and playing, and is just authentic. Can't just say like, oh, I love kids, but don't really like to do it, or you're scrolling on your phone. That's bullshit. I need somebody who genuinely loves children. A chemistry match for me and my spouse and my family. So like this person's got to get along with Cody. They're going to do a lot. I always have Cody as a part of Juliana's therapies as much as possible. So this person's got to also like hanging out with Cody's. Going to have to like dogs and cats. We got dogs and cats here. Chemistry is important for you just as much as it is for your child. And for me, they got to be flexible down with a wacky family because we're wacky. All right. And now you're going to make your own list as to what is the credentials for you. What I really want you to hit home with you guys tonight is you know more than you think you do. And we never know the how. We always make educated guesses if we're in the right state of mind. And this shit is hard. I get it. The autism diagnosis is a whirlwind. And you think like, because you have the autism diagnosis, that things should be easier in other areas. And that's just not how it works. You all know that by now, right? We don't get any passes for being special needs parents. And you may have come to this workshop thinking, I just want to know the how. But if I give you the how, in every scenario, potentially two things will happen. So you just came here and just tell me what to do. I'm going to write down the list. I'm just going to go run off and do it. Right? But here's what's going to happen after tonight. My hows might not be the solves for your situation. Then what do? If we haven't worked on this and you just kind of ignored the beginning of this training, you just wrote down all of the cool tips and the websites and whatever, what happens when that doesn't work? You've never taught your brain to problem solve for this, for a problem you believe is so far out of your control when it's not. And the second thing is I never learned to create the hows for myself. And that's what my masterclass is all about. I show you how to find your hows and share what I do. And that's the value that we bring. It's like two brains are better than one, right? You're going to have you're going to come in the program. You're going to have shitty thoughts. You're going to think that you have no control over a scenario like this. I'm going to show you how your thoughts are blocking you from seeing the solutions. The I don't knows, the I feel like I'm helpless. This has nothing to do with me. It's the agency. It's the hospital. There's a wait list. If I believe that just literally stops your brain from working. All the answers are inside you. You just got to believe that I have the ability to manipulate this reality by changing how I think about it. So one of the things we talk about in the program is called the Big Three. And this is what every child needs for a chance of a life of independence. They need to be able to communicate, need to be able to express wants and needs. They need to not have problem behaviors. They need to be able to sit and attend and learn without problem behaviors or tantruming. And they need to be potty trained. I believe that if our children on the spectrum, no matter no matter what level they are, no matter how severe their autism symptoms present, if they have these three skills, they have a really solid shot at a life of independence. And if you don't have it, it's a problem. So I want to just take a minute and talk to you guys about the masterclass. And this is the mindset work that I talked about in the beginning is everything that the masterclass is all about. I want to talk about what you want for your child. That you want to hear your child be able to speak, hear their voice. I know somebody in here said they wanted to hear their kids say, I love you, mommy. You want a child who can use the bathroom and is not in diapers. You want a child that doesn't tantrum or get aggressive with you or others. You want to have a deep relationship with your child who can share their thoughts and dreams with you. You want your child to be able to go to any school, extracurricular activity, any camp without their autism diagnosis or their lack of some of these skills making it impossible. You want to be able to drop and go at a birthday party or a sleepover. That one was a big one. The first day, I stayed outside. The first day that I dropped her off at a party, I was so excited. I couldn't believe that was us. You want to be able to go on a vacation and have fun as a family. You want to enjoy the holidays, enjoy parties with families and friends without having to hover over, explain away your child's behaviors. You want to know when you're gone, your child can be independent. You want your child to have a strong connection with their siblings and family. And I want you to think about yourself, because you get lost in the diagnosis. As soon as the diagnosis comes, your identity as a person just disappears. Now you're just this caretaker. And I want you to get your life back. That's like a sub effect of joining the masterclass. I want you to have that unbreakable connection with your child. I want you to have peace with the diagnosis. I don't want you to believe that autism is a death sentence, because it's not. I want you to feel in your bones that you didn't fail your child. I want you to know that you've left no stone unturned. I want you to know that your children will remember their childhood and say, Mommy and Daddy, they gave me this amazing childhood. I want you to live every day knowing that if you died tomorrow, you gave 110%, no regrets. I want you to know that you're raising a happy, healthy, self-regulating child that will grow into a happy adult. And this is Tanya. Tanya's daughter was tantruming, not talking, and not sleeping before she joined our program. She was on wait list for months. And I believe we staffed her daughter's case with a babysitter. And not only did we get services moving for her, she's now having conversations with her daughter. While we were doing this video testimonial, I heard her daughter in the background say, she used to cry, nonstop crying. She wouldn't even sleep at night. She said she was afraid her baby was going to have a heart attack because she wasn't getting enough sleep, and she was just upset all the time, and her heart was racing. And while we were doing the testimonial video, I heard her daughter in the background ask for an ice pop. She went from living that to now having conversations with her daughters. She stopped tantruming, and she sleeps through the night now. This is Teresa. Teresa, I love it because Teresa had a 10-year-old. She came to us strictly for potty training, and this is an email she sent to us. Her Ian, who is 10 years old, is officially potty trained. She said 2 magical things happened. He loves to watch people on YouTube opening candy, and he got a huge 1-pound peanut butter cup for Christmas, and it was the perfect reward for potty training. He gets a slice off that cup every time he poops on the potty. And then they also implemented a token board system, and his reward was a local hotel stay with a swimming pool. As soon as he knew that was in the game, he literally went to the bathroom and took a shit on the toilet. His teachers are just speechless because they've never seen such a quick turnaround in any of the children they've worked with. And this is that sub bonus of joining the masterclass. I can't tell you how much joy, unspeakable joy I have in my heart right now for all of us. A veil of depression that I didn't know existed had lifted, and I can see and feel more clearly now. The program we put in place is so much more fun and affordable than any of the treatments I've paid for. This was a note I got from one of Juliana's speech teachers. I'll never forget it. I still have it. She's thanking me for a gift I gave her, and she said to me that working with Juliana was a pleasure, and that she had more gains skills than I've ever seen in my 25 years of experience. I can't imagine what the future holds for her. That future is possible for your babies too. This is Kimberly. This is another mom. She lived in, I believe it was Washington, and she was in a rural area of Washington. Could not get services. They said couldn't find a place. Then they couldn't find a staff. That we walked her through the entire process. And she was one of my first master classes over 2 years ago. And she sent me this message a couple months ago. She said, when I first found you, Easton was 3. I couldn't get a firm diagnosis. He had very few words, 0 social skills, and was not potty trained. I found you the same day as our IEP meeting. That day I was defeated and overwhelmed after they asked me to list some of Easton's strengths. I sat there in tears as I struggled to come up with an answer. I had to find help, and luckily I found you. It's been 2 years since I joined the masterclass. And today I had a meeting with the school regarding his kindergarten placement. He's set to start in a general education class 80% of the time. He's fully potty trained, He has no aggressive behaviors. His speech is blossoming, and he tells me he loves me on a daily basis. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, had I not found you, he would not be here. I want you to know that the work you do is so appreciated, truly made all the difference in my life, and most important, Easton's life. You've literally turned our life around, and I can't tell you enough what that means to our family. You are truly a lifesaver. So why would you join our program? Every child on the spectrum is unique, and your program should be flexible and bend enough to meet that uniqueness with personalized strategies. I want you to learn that potty training is 1000% possible, that your child does not need to be verbal to be potty trained. They don't need to be mildly autistic. I want you to feel confident as a parent like you were before the diagnosis came, because you'll be fluent in their language of behavior. You will start to reconnect to your child because communication is going to be in place. We're going to get to the root level of your child's problem behaviors and treat it, not just treat the symptoms. We're going to figure out the cause from the root so these behaviors happen minimally to never, ever again. We're going to teach you how to live your life again. And another byproduct, a fabulous byproduct of the masterclass, how to show up at an IEP meeting, holiday party, plan a vacation, and be a family. When life happens, we're going to help you to get back on track. If a regression happens, we tell you exactly how to handle it. We're going to learn from trial and error rather than quitting on our kids. The only true failure is quitting. We're going to teach you how to build that champion mindset so you no longer have to worry about autism every minute of every day, and you'll get your life back too. So how does the program work? The way the program works is it's done all over Zoom. It's virtual. It's a 3-month group coaching program with guaranteed results. And what you get when you join, the first part of what you get when you join, is lifetime access to my self-study vault of courses that you can do at your leisure. You're going to have forever access to it. I have courses in there on potty training, communication, reducing problem behaviors, social skills, teaching family members about autism. I can't even list it up. We've had so many amazing courses, and you're going to have lifetime access to it. These are all the examples of what we have: picky eater protocol, mindset training, stopping eloping behavior. And I build the vault out every month with trainings. This collection of programs is what makes my program the Harvard of autism alone, just this. In addition to this, though, you're going to get what I call the heart of my program. And that's 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls where you're going to learn from the experts. 1 call each week is with me. I'm the autism mom, just like you guys, and I'm a life coach, and you'll come on my call and I'll craft out a personalized blueprint for your baby. You want to work on potty training? We work on potty training. You want to get off a wait list? We'll do that too. You want to get communicating? We're going to help you to get communicating. In addition to that, we talked a lot about our thoughts tonight. Mindset training is another call you're going to get. Everyone gets their questions answered on these calls. Stella is our mindset coach. She's going to help you kind of keep your mind in the right space to help you keep moving forward for your baby. In addition to that, we actually have 5 BCBAs now in the program. But these 3 are my pioneers. They started the program with me. Stacy has been with us. Stacy was actually on Juliana's team when her language was emerging. Melissa's got 30 years of experience. She's potty trained, 31-year-old adult. She's an expert. And Armando is what I like to call our trifecta, right? Because he's a male and he's a BCBA, which we don't see much of, but he's also an adult with autism who didn't speak till the age of 7, who was in life skill classes till grade 3, grade 4 went to gen ed, then gifted and talented, graduated high school, graduated college, got a master's degree, got married. You're going to have a chance to speak with him. He's what's possible for my Juliana. He's what's possible for your babies. His mother was told he would never speak. And he speaks quite well. He's going to blow your hair back. And you get to talk to him in this program as well. And everyone gets their questions answered on this. Even though this is a group coaching program, we make sure that if you raise your hand, you get your questions answered. We build out a blueprint on that first call. Then week after week, we keep building until we get you your results. In addition to the study vault and the group coaching calls, you also get monthly specialist calls. We have a registered dietitian who's an autism mom. She's a part of the program. You get to talk to her. I believe with some of our kids, there's a connection between their immune system and gut health and cognitive ability. She's going to talk to you about diet and supplements. We also have a speech language pathologist who hosts a call once a month. She is a part of our program as an autism mom, and now she hosts her own call as our speech language pathologist. She knows exactly what you're going through. In addition to this, which is not even listed here, we also have a BCBA that specializes in feeding therapy. You get to talk to her once a month. You have questions about getting your picky eater to try new foods, get your child eating crunchy foods if they only eat soft foods. She's going to be able to answer those questions as well. And everyone gets their questions answered. So you're going to get the study vault. You're going to get to 3 to 4 weekly group coaching calls a week. You're going to get the monthly expert calls. And then you also get my community. The Facebook community is a Facebook group that's just for the students of the masterclass. So you never feel alone. If you have a question for me, let's say you come to my call on Monday and you have a question about something I asked you to implement on Wednesday, you tag me in that group, you tag any of the coaches and we'll be able to respond, or you can email me directly. Because when you join, you become a part of my family, your baby becomes my baby. You know, I'm looking at the wall when I talk about the program, because I ask you guys to send in pictures when you join, because I love to have your pictures on my wall. I love to see the pictures of all the babies we're helping. Support for me for this program, it's North Star. In addition to all this, I'm going to give you a satisfaction 100% action back guarantee. So what does that mean? If after 90 days you don't get the results you came for, and you've been coming to the calls and you've been doing what we've said and you're really struggling, and I've never had this happen, by the way, if you come to the calls, you work the program and you're struggling at 90 days, you can either stay in the program till you do, or I'll give you your money back. That's how solid I am in what I offer here. I want everybody to win. Here's the program. But tonight, we're going to offer a couple of bonuses. If you join tonight, by midnight, we're going to offer 2 special bonuses on top of everything that you saw there. The first bonus is a private session with me and a private session with Stella. So in addition to getting all of those calls every week, we could kick off our program together by scheduling our first call, and you and I will start crafting that blueprint in private, and then we're going to take it to group. You'll be able to do that with me, and you'll be able to do that with Stella. In addition to that, you will get 5 months in the program instead of 3. If you join tonight, this is special, only available tonight. 2 privates, 1 with me, 1 with Stella, and you'll also get 5 months in the program instead of 3. And that's 60 plus calls to change your lives. For tonight only, if you book into the program by midnight, you get the 2 private sessions with me, you get the full program, you'll get it for 5 months instead of 3, and all the bonuses go away at midnight. The investment for the program is $2,497, or 3 payments of $878, or 4 payments of $660. Jen's going to be putting the link in the chat box. That averages out to $16 a day, 60 plus calls to change you, change your life, change your baby's life. All bonuses go away at midnight, so you need to join now. The link's in the chat box. If you're thinking, can I afford to spend the money on this? Or this is expensive. It is an investment, but it's also the most valuable investment in anything that you could buy, because you get years back and peace knowing that your future for your child has possibilities. The masterclass is an investment for the way you live your life and teach your child for the rest of your lives. What does it cost you to not get your baby the big 3 now? What's it costing you to wait on that wait list? What's the cost of diapers and wipes if your child's still in diapers? Over $2,000 a year. What's the cost in changing those diapers and time? 135 hours annually, that's 4 weeks. How much of your time have you wasted trying to figure out what to do if you're on a wait list? Time is actually more valuable than money, because you could always make more money. You can't get back time you've lost. Cost of not being able to move on and teach important life skills invaluable. Cost to you mentally and emotionally that the rite of passage from baby to child never happens, incalculable. Can you afford to pay this price any longer? And I had a mom, she's not here tonight, but I had a mom that just joined the masterclass at the beginning of the month. And she had actually spoken to us 6 months ago. And she had a daughter that was not fully potty trained. And she was really struggling, and she was trying to do it on her own. And then she finally took the leap and she joined us. And within 1 week, we got her potty trained. 1 week. And what we both said to each other at the same time was like, gosh, if you had joined 6 months ago, you would have had your 1 week back then. Time is more valuable than money. What could we have done in those 6 months? We're going to do it now, but what could we have done in those 6 months had she taken the leap then? I don't want that to be any of you. If you're thinking, I don't know if now is a good time. If you had to find an hour of time, how would you do it? Coaching with my team will actually give you more time. All I need is an hour a week with you. Most important calls, I believe all the calls are important. You come to my call, I will show you how you define the time. Time for our children on the spectrum is more valuable than money, and we can't afford to waste a minute not being strategic in how we're spending it to up-level our kids. There will never be a perfect time. We help you create the time and use the time you already have more effectively. If you don't have time now, it takes even longer to get these skills for your baby on your own. Time is our most valuable resource. We cannot buy more of it. Knowing what this is costing you and your family, can you spare another second not getting this done now? If you're thinking, I need to think about it, it doesn't take time to make a decision, it takes information. We think that the longer we wait, the more information we'll have, and we're going to feel better about making a decision. But in fact, the opposite happens. The longer you wait, the more you feel less confident, the more uncertain and more doubtful you'll feel. The reason some decisions feel solid or certain is because your brain gives us that feeling when we make a known decision from the past, which is giving you the results you have now for your baby. This should make you nervous. You should be excited. Maybe a bunch of you are excited and you're going to join. Maybe some of you feel nervous. It's okay. You should feel that way. It's probably different than anything you've ever invested in. But what if this is the thing? Think about that mom who finally took the leap this month, who could have taken the leap 6 months ago and had her 1 week transformation then. Don't let that be you. Sitting in I need to think about it keeps you stuck, not taking action to help your baby now. Time equals currency. And it's the reason why you should join my program, because we coach you through the stuckness. Indecision is keeping you second guessing and losing precious time. Think about it when you're on a wait list and you don't know what to do. That's indecision. You're losing time. I don't want you to lose any more of that time that we can't get back. You could be making progress at the same time. And it's the reason you have the results you have now for your child. It's the reason why you're stuck. It's the reason why you should join us. All of these thoughts are way more expensive than working with me. If you want new results, you have to make new decisions, even scary decisions, and different decisions if you want a different life. If you're thinking, I've failed so many times or I've tried everything, how will this be different? You haven't tried everything. Even me, who've worked with tons of kids, right? I've taken so many families off a wait list. I've helped so many kids pie train. I've helped so many kids communicate. And I've tried lots of things. I can't even say that. How many times have you lost? And I give this example because I thought it was just such a good idea. Like when I think about this, how many times have you lost your keys and gone on a hunt for them? Isn't it funny how you always find them in the last place you look? You can hunt and look everywhere and then they appear. It's always in that last place because that's when you've tried everything. Right now, you're in the second to last place. My program is going to be your last place. It's where you'll find the key to unlocking an amazing future for your child. And we work with you and your baby till you win, and I don't quit. That's the only thing you're not allowed to do is quit. Make this time different. And I want to talk about unicorn syndrome because this comes up constantly. Juliana is different than my child. My child has severe autism. By the way, Juliana was diagnosed moderate to severe. This works for other kids, but won't work for mine. My child is broken. I'm broken. By the way, Armando's mother told he would never speak, that he needs to be taught silent. He'll never be able to communicate with her. He's married now. He speaks beautifully. He's living an amazing life. There's nothing out there that'll change the trajectory for my child. Unicorn syndrome is a self-preservation state. It's something our brains bring us to. Because our brains, even though we may want in our highest level brain wants our babies to succeed and not succumb to autism symptoms, our brain isn't about that. Our brain is about keeping things status quo, keeping us safe, not happy, not elevating our child, keeping us safe because it knows the way things are now, even if it's shit, we can survive that. And unicorn syndrome is exactly that. It's a self-preservation state. And if I stay here, I never put myself out there to have these hopes and dreams for my baby. And when that doesn't happen, I can't be hurt. Subconsciously, I can't risk and trying and failing because I won't survive it. But that's the irony, because I have to tell you, as a survivor myself who has tried so many things that have not worked. I've tried so many things. And Armando's mom, we're going to have her on here to do, let me interview her, had tried so many things, questionable shit that did not work. We are still survived, and our children still thrive because we never stopped. We didn't believe in the limits that other people said that autism was going to be. Sitting in I don't know or asking shitty questions with no real answers keeps you stuck and not taking action to help your baby now. Indecision is keeping you second guessing and losing precious time that you could be making progress. Nothing comes from an I don't know or a bullshit question you can't answer. Just decide. This is what it's all about tonight. We're going to make some decisions. Decide you're not ready and you won't do the work, or decide you're nervous but you're willing to go for it. Give yourself the gift of the decision. Honor yourself and your child right now. If fears and worry are dominating your day and night, then join us. If there's something in you that identifies with what I've taught you tonight and makes sense, take that leap of faith and join me. Saying yes will have you and your baby moving forward today. Click the link. All the bonuses go away at midnight. I'd love to have you. Let's get going. I'm going to do a little break, and then we're going to get right to Q&A. So I guess I wanted to start asking you, what were your biggest struggles prior to joining the program?
You know, I was going around and looking for organizations. I was looking for help.
So I started looking up online. I really need somebody who's been through.
There's no access to any kind of services over here in Ireland. Googling stuff and trying to find something.
I joined because I had a 3-year-old autistic son. So I knew I had to do something that I didn't know what to do.
Everything seemed to be waitlisted or just not available. To break it down to him, I had to have somebody break it down to me.
And that really got me worried. It got my husband worried and thinking, okay, we need to speak to PD.
I think my biggest struggle was understanding their potential.
I actually didn't know, like I was kind of relying on just the speech therapist.
I came in just feeling very helpless, very confused.
What can I do now that I haven't already done? You know, what would be the harm? What can I lose?
Before participating, we weren't making as much progress. It was slow progress.
I believe that I found you on Instagram.
She is very turned off by a lot of doctors and therapists and things.
I went back and forth and I'm like, okay, she's going to start ABA therapy on this day, and I told him that was my #1 goal.
As everyone would be, I was a little skeptical because of how many times I had tried with Alexander.
On one end, I'm hearing, okay, she's, artistic, and, you qualify for a lot of services. And when I go and try to inquire about, we can't service her.
Our son was like in year 2 of potty training. He's 4 years old. He's autistic. And he had been hospitalized a couple of times because of potty training related issues.
So he has been tracking on the spectrum for some time. How do I get him talking? How do I get him pooping in the potty? I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on recovering my son.
All right, so now, I guess, where are you now? You and your child, now that you've joined the program?
Doing really, really well. I think their ABA program here is wonderful. We got very lucky with that.
One word here or there, what it was that he wanted, but not necessarily saying I want it would be apple or this or that. And that has totally blossomed.
You guys saved my family.
Okay, so where I am now is where I kind of know that I'm in charge.
The changes in him in less than 2 months, I think I've been like 6 weeks, are miraculous. The behaviors are decreased. The stimming has decreased. The listening to directions has increased. The language has increased.
I just, set those goals for myself and cross them off and And, and once I did that for me, turned my focus 100%, and, and then I was able to get the work done.
You helped me formulate the confidence in myself to realize I'm ready to really go for it. I would not have gotten through it. It went so much better than I ever could have imagined.
I started listening to tips from Michelle. He's doing so much better. More eye contact for sure. We're working on talking, on saying some words.
Yeah, it went really well. Like again, the tips you guys gave me.
It doesn't seem like this big impossible thing.
I just been given something so precious.
He's more verbal, right direction, and I'm so happy to be part of this.
We never in a million years thought that it would happen this early.
He's making a lot more sounds. He's now at that point where he's no longer frustrated, since you and all of the teachers have given me all of the ideas and the strategies.
We all want our children to succeed, and it's just been wonderful.
Within a month of being in the program, Jude was potty trained, both number 1 and number 2.
He is crazy verbal right now. He's very independent. He's now able to focus on something else.
Would you recommend our program to any moms or dads that are going through this right now?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would definitely prefer anyone to this.
Yes, definitely. You guys need to do this program. It'll change you guys and your child's life tremendously.
100%. I do recommend it. You learn something new.
I would definitely suggest to go through this program for at least first 4 to 6 months.
This program has allowed that. I'm really grateful for that.
Take this course, do the one-on-ones, listen and absorb everything that this team has to offer.
You guys have a gift. And you're sharing it, and that's amazing.
So I will recommend it to anybody, whoever is out there.
It's been really great. It's been very great. And
this is going to help you. You can learn through other parents' experiences.
Absolutely. And I have already been recommending Champions for Our Children.
It's amazing. I can't recommend the program enough.
Just do it. Don't hold back. Just go all in with your daughter or your son, and I promise you will definitely see results.
All righty. Amazing. I'm so excited. Goosebumps when I watch that. One of the moms in there, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys tonight too, because I forgot to mention her earlier. One of the moms in there, she was the blonde with the really pretty blue eyes. Her son's name is Jude. She started the program on New Year's. On New Year's Eve, we talked. I'll never forget, because I was down in Florida and Stella had talked. She's like, "Can you talk to her? She's on the fence." And I know we can help her. And her son, had some issues. He was in the hospital, and she's terrified, but she needs to potty train him, because otherwise the school he's in won't let him stay, because he's only going to this, they live in a rural area as well, and they found a Montessori school that they love, but the Montessori school said that he couldn't come 5 full days because he wasn't potty trained. So I said, yeah, I'll talk to her. And she got on the phone with me, and she was crying. And they had just left the hospital from an ICU visit with a kidney infection. So she's like, on one hand, I so desperately needed to be potty trained. I didn't know it at the time, but she had quit her job and she had to quit school. She was going for a master's degree when they got the autism diagnosis. And then, she's trying to work with him at home and, get him into some type of school that would allow him, but he wasn't potty trained. And then while all this happens, he has a couple of really bad infections. He ends up getting a really bad kidney infection and gets hospitalized. And she had all this guilt, because she's like, oh, because of the autism diagnosis, I didn't know, because he was pre-verbal at the time. I didn't know that this, I couldn't stop the infection because of autism, right? This is where the thought work is so important in here. I remember telling her, I'm like, that could have happened to a speaking neurotypical child his age, because kids aren't really very vocal when they're little if something's hurting them. And I said, I need you to just have faith in the fact that, what if this kidney infection happens? So now the signs so that you can avoid one from happening in the future, right? It's more helpful to stay there versus feeling guilty and feeling like shit and feeling like I was a bad mom and I didn't catch this, right? So she joins the program. Within about a month, he was potty trained, right? We end up doing her testimonial video at the beginning of this month. And it was amazing. I remember even before we did the testimonial video, she had asked me if I would get on a Zoom with the school because they had some questions because they were so excited with the progress he was making that they're so into this that they wanted to help him as well, which I thought was great because I don't know what to expect. I love Montessori, but they're a little different, so I didn't know how they were going to be. And we were talking on the phone on the Zoom, and I was giving them strategies, and I saw Mom in the corner watching, and all of a sudden she burst into tears, and I instantly recognized why, because it was like she could breathe again, like this whole thing between when she joined and he just got out of the hospital and she was feeling all sorts of like guilt, like she had caused, like the kidney infection got so bad because she didn't know what to do because she doesn't know how to do anything with autism or whatever the case may be. And here he was getting potty trained, and the school was talking to me, and they were getting excited and were coming up with great ideas to help him. And she just started crying. And I remember knowing like, God, like to be a part of that, like that I helped create that feeling of relief in her. I'll never forget it. It's why I do what I do. And when we did our testimonial video, just saying like, I said to Erin, I'm like, Erin, it was beginning of March. And she told me on that testimonial video that she's now getting a full-time job and she's going back to get her master's, both dreams she had given up, when the diagnosis came, because now he's potty trained, he's starting to communicate, and he's, going to school full time. He can go to school full time now. And I said to her, I'm like, Erin, when we talked on New Year's, if I had told you on March 10th that he'd be potty trained, he'd start communicating, and you'd be headed back to getting a full-time job and getting your master's degree, would you believe me? And she said, no. I don't want that for anybody in here. Look what happened in 3 months. Her life changed in such a big way in only 3 months. And that could be any of you. That's why I love this. I love this work. I love doing this. I love to make shit like that happen for all of you. All right, so let's do Wheel of Names real quick. We're going to give away a free session with me, and then I'm going to go right to Q&A. If you want to be coached tonight, you need to raise your hand. All right, we're going to take Alana first, and yep, we will do some coaching tonight. Jen, are we ready to do Wheel of Names?
Yeah, we can do now.
All right, let's do Wheel of Names real quick. We promised it. We're going to deliver. The replay will come out. We're going to send the replay email immediately. The download for the recording, it's got a process on Zoom, but we'll send it out as soon as we're done tonight. Let's do some Wheel of Names. Let's see who's going to win a free session. LaTanya's here. She got the last free session. LaTanya, tell me how fucking awesome it was to talk today. I wanted her to let me share, but she was like, this is such a great session. I want to keep it to myself. LaTanya, was it amazing or what? Jennifer Young. Woo, welcome. Congratulations, Jennifer. You will get a private session with me. Email michelle@michellebrogers.com, and I will just put that in the chat, and we will get you set up with your private session with me. All right, let's go. Alana, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to promote you to panelists. Your screen is going to flash. Then you're going to come up. You're going to show me your beautiful face. You're going to unmute. You want to make sure you're in a space where you can talk, good internet, no distractions. Let everybody enjoy the coaching we can all get from each other's communications. So yeah, Alana, let's rock it out. Yeah, Karen joined. Welcome. Woo-hoo. Happy. Welcome to my new masterclassers. Can't wait to have you. Hi, Alana. How are you? I like that name.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So I guess my first question is we're on the wait list for 6 months for diagnosis. He's gotten what I call an unofficial diagnosis because the lady told me, yes, he does have it. We have to wait another 4 weeks to get the official breakdown, I guess, of his autism. I've already called the insurance and they said that she's already given me a list of places. There's 20 near us that offer ABA or something like that. But insurance only says one is in our network.
Okay.
And I guess and they'll come to the house. But I've been fighting with his pediatrician's office is my big thing because I've already got him in speech and I'm starting occupational therapy this week. But the pediatrician's office, the lady was avoiding me, telling me she wasn't even going to be at work when she was there to put the referrals in.
Okay.
So do you have any suggestions to getting him in like a new pediatrician's office when they're saying like they're full and booked, like they're not taking new patients?
So, okay, so you have a pediatrician now, right? That's not giving you the referrals, correct?
Correct. And so
And-
when he does get diagnosed, I'll have to wait another probably 3 to 4 weeks to get a referral for his ABA therapy.
Okay, so you need 2 scripts from your pediatrician. You need one for the actual to go and get the diagnosis.
No, I've got that.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So what do you need from pediatrician? Just the referral to get the evaluation, and then the referral for the services. Is that what it is?
Just the referral for the services. I finally got her to do the one for the eval. I just need one for the services.
Okay, so
But
okay. Worried that you're not going to be able to get a prescription services because you have a hard time getting the referrals prescription.
Right, and she says she won't even start the process, even though we know he has it, until he has his diagnosis. She won't even start putting the referral in, and I know it takes her about 3 to 4 weeks to get a referral in for for any kind of service.
Okay, got it. So I guess your question is like, where can I get? Because you're automatically assuming because it took so long to get the initial, I guess, script that you're worried that the next script for the services is going to take equally as long.
Yes, because this is the 3rd one I've had her put in for him for services. So the ABA therapy will be the 4th one.
Okay. So for the 3rd, when you say the 3rd, I just wanted some clarity on what it is that she's already put in for you.
So speech therapy.
Oh, speech therapy. Okay, got it. So, and you had to wait for that one too?
So I've got the speech. The occupational is the 2nd.
Did you have to wait for those? Was she a pain in the ass on those too, or you got those pretty quick?
The speech I got pretty quick. The occupational I did not get quick. And the one to actually have him evaluated, she put it in, but I actually had to go and find a place myself that was not an 18-month wait list, because that's all she would do is the one that was 18 months. I actually had to go and call around and find a place that could get him in sooner.
Okay, so all right, which is great. But did she give you a script for that eval to another place outside the 18-month wait list place?
No.
Did you?
I mean, she did eventually when I told her I need it for. No, I actually called our insurance and I put it in myself.
Oh, okay, all right. Could you potentially put in your own? If you could do that for the eval, could you do that for the services?
No, the insurance says it needs to come from his pediatrician's office. I already asked.
All right, got it. All right, so you have a couple of options here. So first, let me ask you a question. So knowing that you're having so many problems with this pediatrician's office, like how does that make you feel? What's the first thought that comes to your mind, knowing that you're gonna have to go back and get another script from her?
Well, a little bit angry considering she's lying to me and telling me she's not in the office. And so then I called to talk to her supervisor, and she actually gets on the phone and she is in the office.
The supervisor gets on the phone, or she actually gets on the phone?
She gets on the phone, I'm assuming, because after I demanded to talk to her supervisor when she was telling me she wasn't there and she really was, she got on the phone.
Okay, got it.
Got by her office.
And how many times have you done that? Like where you kind of tried to do a walk around on her?
That was the first time.
And it was effective?
Yes, that she finally came on the phone and put in the referral.
So the feeling you had was angry, but what was the thought that came to your mind first?
I don't know. I just got to get this done. Like, I'm tired of wasting time.
Wasting time. Got it.
Silly squish.
This is her thought. I'm tired of wasting time. When she thinks that thought, she gets angry. And then what was the action you took?
Well, I went above her head and started making.
Yeah, we call it the walk around the sales.
Yeah.
The walk around. And what was the result? What ended up happening?
It got done.
It got done. Okay, so what's the problem? The reason I say that is like, it's interesting, right? Because I'm curious, before this happened and you were struggling to get her on the phone, we want to challenge what thoughts you were having in that moment. Because whatever thoughts they were, it kept you stuck. It took you to get to this point, to get to a feeling of anger. Now, this isn't the place I like to travel from. always. But it's sometimes effective, and it worked in your scenario quite well because you did the walk around on her immediately, and then you got the result of getting it done. So now you have this is the thing though, and this is why I don't like this one as your go-to. Like to go from a feeling of anger to take action from anger could sometimes be very effective, or it could also be
It can be bad.
It could be bad for you too, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's effective and then sometimes it's not, right? We don't want to burn a bridge if this is the only pediatrician we can go to, but I'm assuming that's not the case.
Well, actually, I've tried to switch this pediatrician, but nobody in our area is taking new clients.
In network.
That's in, yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So now I want to be really clear, like on the data that she gave, because she, like, if I'm in belief that I can't get this anywhere else, then I feel stuck. I feel like it's a circumstance outside of my control. And when I'm in that space, I can't problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want you to see in this example, I'm tired of wasting time. She got angry. She had to walk around. Then she got the result, which she got what she needed. Moving forward, she's like, I got to deal with this bitch again. So what am I going to do to get this done quicker? Well, I tell you, you have two avenues you can go with. Number one, going off of this model, we call this a model in my program, right? I could do this again, and it should be pretty effective. If she doesn't come through, she doesn't give it back to me immediately, I'm going to do exactly what I did. I'm going to do the walk around again, and I'm going to get it. Did you see that as a possibility?
Not necessarily. I was hoping the next time that I tried to work with her, she would be better, but it seems to have only be getting worse because actually when he's in therapy, their office is not far from where he goes to therapy. Yeah. So I actually swing by her office instead of just calling on the phone to get things done in person. And she seems to have not liked that.
She doesn't like that. Got it. So, and this is so interesting because this is a relationship that seems like it's gone south, right? And it's not intentionally gone that way, but like because of the lack of communication potentially between the both of you, it may be in that spot. I could give a fuck about you having a relationship with her. I need you to get your script so you can get out of there and he can get his services immediately as soon as it's available. So the idea here is you have two avenues you can go with. You never want to burn a bridge. I never want to burn a bridge. I can get testy, but I can always go back and clean up my side of the street. But if I really burn the shit down, then I'm really shit out of luck if I can't go anywhere else. But now I want to talk about that for a second too now, right? So you have one option here. One option is to do the same exact thing to get the same result that was effective, right? Nobody, when you get the boss involved, everyone moves, right? So that's one way she could do it. The other option she has is potentially to go to another pediatrician. Now she says that when she calls around, there's no other pediatrician that can see that takes new patients, but that are in network.
Right.
So I understand, like the idea here is like you like the pediatrician at your current office, you just don't like the girl, right?
Yeah, I mean he seems nice. Everybody else with, you
get an appointment, you like them, the kids like them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean he's not overly, I guess, observant, but if we say a concern, like when my daughter needed a helmet, okay, I'll send a referral, or when we need something, he'll do it, but he doesn't notice, like he wouldn't notice my son had autism if I didn't probably say something. Like he doesn't spend a lot of time.
By the way, that's for any pediatrician. This is not their area of expertise.
Right.
It really isn't. They're about sniffles and ear infections and strep throat. Okay. They're not about behavioral issues. They're not about autism. Okay. So I don't want you to like slide them for that because none of them would really be experts in the field unless they have kids themselves. What I want to say here is that your brain has it, like your brain had you at a hard stop because nobody else in network would be available, which is what you've researched. But if all I need is a script and maybe I have to pay for one visit, which do you know how much a visit at a doctor's office is usually?
For our pediatrician, it's covered in our network.
So out of network, I'll tell you right now, because I pay out of network for my pediatrician because I love her. Because you got to think, how often are you going to the pediatrician? Once a year for your wellness. And if maybe they get sick, like, you could take them to MediCenter or you could do Teladoc, right? So for me, if I had to pay $100 to get that script on command, that would be worth it for me.
Yeah.
But when my brain had this, presented it as a I had no options because I called everyone in network and there's nothing. Nobody can take me. They won't take anybody new. But what, and then I have thoughts about that. It feels like shit. I feel like I'm trapped. I'm stuck with this lady that I can't. And now I'm going to be in this, I'm in this crazy 8 where she's going to give me a hard time and I don't want to have to fight with her to get it. And da, 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 da. So you have to either, like, you have 2 options the way I see. Actually, I have 3. First option is just do what you did last time to get it done. The second option is to have a conversation with her and say, listen, I don't know if I did something to upset you, but I want to apologize. I just got to explain to you how important this is. You may do this hat in hand and she may still be a bitch and you got to be okay with that.
Right.
Like, all right, that didn't work. And then third is you go pay out of pocket for one visit to a pediatrician that's out of my network just to get the script. And you can still go to your other pediatrician. You just needed the script for insurance. You just need it from a doctor.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So that's.
I know. Why didn't you? And I know. And why didn't you think about that?
I guess because they just said, oh, there's, out of network and you just don't want to pay for things out of pocket. So you just kind of.
No, that's not what it was. You're willing to do it now, right? If you had to.
If I had to, yeah. Because I want it done.
That. It's I'm fucking mad.
Yeah.
Right? I can't, I sometimes say like I'm blinded with rage. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling all types of things. When I'm in that state, I can't problem solve.
Yeah.
You have every right to be in that state. You have every right to feel that kind of way. But that's why thoughts, being able to acknowledge, like, listen, it's neutral that she made you wait. That's the neutral. The circumstance, the fact of life here, the thing that we can't control is the fact that she took a month to give me a script.
Well, that's what on her voicemail it says it can take her up to 14 days to put in a referral.
That's what it says on her thing. Yeah, all right. So that's the circumstance, right? The circumstance is it could take 14 to 30 days for a script, right?
Yeah.
That's not the problem. The problem is the thought you have about it. And I don't know what that is. We'd have to examine that. We went the other way with it, but the thought could be like, I shouldn't have to wait, or this isn't fair, or why does this have to be so hard?
Yeah.
And then
all those things.
What would you say?
I said all those things.
Yes, all those things, right? And when I think all those things, how do I feel?
Yeah, I get angry, I get upset, I get a little pissed off. I'm not gonna lie.
I can't problem solve for this.
Yeah.
So, the knee-jerk reaction I would have is to get really pissed at this, right? I had a situation where I swear this is fucking illegal. I need to find a lawyer to just put a stop to this. We were moving along. We had a health insurance. We had ABA, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of our agreement period, they cut our hours. Said, "Oh, she seems to be doing good. She doesn't need as many hours." I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I call the agency. They say everyone with your health insurance that we work with, they all got their hours cut at the same exact time. So some asshole got a promotion at that company, and he's like, "I'm going to show my boss how we're going to save money at the health insurance. I'm going to cut everybody who's got ABA in half," or some shit like that. And most families did not fight.
Yeah.
Now, first thought I was really angry. It was all the things that you were, but I don't try to problem solve. And I know I can't stay there because I can't come up with a solution from that space. A lot of the families were angry just like me, but they ended up doing nothing because they had the thought that this is outside of my control, right?
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking, if I'm always thinking I'm the exception to the rule, or I can create any outcome that I want with my mind, how can I manipulate this? So I appealed. Nobody else appealed. I want to appeal. The second time they did it, because then he's like, all right, he's like, now they catch on that this mom's an asshole, meaning me. So the second time authorization came, they cut me again. Then I did appeal and I lost. And I knew I was going to lose. It was an internal appeal.
Yeah.
So then I say, okay, what are my options if you guys are managing the appeal internally? What are my options if I don't agree with whoever you know is the mediator? Oh, you can go for an external appeal, right? But if I'm doing it from that space of like, this is so not, and this was what it was when I first got the message, it's such bullshit, always something, right? Then I had to calm down, because otherwise I would have just quit. I would have, I don't know what I would have done. but I wouldn't be able to calm myself down to figure out how do I problem solve for this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And listen, I gotta tell you something. Anger serves me well at times, but when I'm looking for like the long game, you want to go from a different space. Like, all right, what if I could just have the thought about, if the numbers now are 1 in 44, like 1 in 44 children are going to be diagnosed with autism. And that means that there's even more people fighting for the services that I'm desperately trying to keep or have for myself. Knowing that that's the circumstance, how can I create a situation that's optimal for my baby? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a different energy than being pissed all the time.
Yeah. I didn't start out that way, but after 9 months of dealing
no, Stu. This is created. We're not born this way. It's the monster is created. So we have to.
I was really nice in the beginning, but then after 9 months, I'm like, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, and then, it's funny because you don't want confrontation. I can tell you don't even want to talk to this lady. You don't want to go over her head. It's pissing her off, but you're like, I feel like I have no choice. But now, it's all coming from like a shitty space. So we got to try and see, can I get the same result? Can I get more bees with honey?
Honey, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, was that helpful?
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
All right, no problem. I'll talk to you soon. That was hysterical. You're like me, man. We're like road ragers. Okay.
Yeah,
oh, I lost you. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear what you said, but yes, we're both like road ragers. It's hysterical. I wasn't born a road rager, but this made me a road rager. I'm just kidding. All right. Any last call for questions? All right, then this is it for tonight. This was oh wait, I have 3 questions in here. So are you teaching us how to do ABA? So to answer questions about the masterclass, yes, we have BCBAs. I guess like ABA is now part of the way I parent. So yes, I guess like a lot of the strategies I'm going to give you are going to be very ABA based when we come to actually like working with your child to potty train, working with them to communicate. So yeah, I guess we do teach you ABA on my class, and then the BCBA call, they're board certified teachers with master's degrees in ABA. So yes, we're going to teach you ABA. I find, listen, we're all here on the wait list call looking to get off wait list. I get it. It's important our kids have these services, but it's even more important that you know how to run these services. ABA is not rocket science. And once you learn it, it starts becoming a part of your identity. It's like learning a new language. So foreign at first, you're going to make some missteps, and then all of a sudden you're fluent in it. And once you're fluent in that, you can teach your baby anything. And that's any child, not just children on the spectrum. Hope that was helpful, Michelle. Ashley P, can we bandwagon to try and get your program covered under insurance? Now that's a good question. I am in the process of trying to figure out how we could be covered under insurance. It is not covered under insurance currently. Honestly, the demand for the program has been so massive, I haven't even had a chance to look at it. We're helping so many babies every day. It's something I would absolutely love. It's something on my radar. I just don't know when. All right, last call for questions. Can insurance limit services? Yes, they can. So you want to make sure out of the gate, you're finding out if there's caps. You want to make sure that when they put into the evaluation every 6 months, do their 3 or 6 month authorization period, that it's stacked with data on what's been going on, the progress, what new goals need to be acquired. I always consider autism almost like whack-a-mole, right? Because you think that like, oh, I got her, I get all of these skills and I leave the autism community. That's not how it works. Because as she gets older, autism related issues come up, like how she's going to handle making friends, how she's going to handle the red panda. I'm terrified. I really am. How she's got to handle getting her teeth pulled, how she's going to handle braces, right? She's got sensory things going on. So these things go with age. So I actually just feel like, as age goes on, this is always a part of it. That's why it's so great for you to learn this so that you can take them through this. My husband wants to know if it's a tax write-off. I believe it is. Anything that you put, any investments you make like this, I've seen parents, GoFundMe for this. I've seen parents sell furniture to join my program. I've seen parents actually use self-direct budgets. So if your child has a self-direct budget within your state, I've seen them use cut me a check and send me a check, and then the mom was in the program just like that. So yes, all those good stuff. All right, last call for questions. I think that's it. I hope tonight was helpful. The replay is going to go out. Listen, if you're nervous, but you believe in me, I'm not talking shit. I want you to join me. I'm going to help you. I guarantee results in my program. You stay until you do, or I will give you your money back. That's how solid I am in what we do. Thank you for allowing me to spend Wednesday night with you. Bye, everyone.